Welcome back to the Go M.A.D podcast. I am your host, Christopher. And all right, guys. So I just want to be very honest with you. I've been trying so hard. Okay, I'm not going to even give myself, like the clout or, trying to, boast on myself. I've been trying. I won't say very hard. I've been trying. Just trying to get different guests and to get interviewed on the podcast and get different people here because I want you guys to hear different opinions. And the very purpose of this podcast is for me to grow and then share with you guys what I've been growing on and help you guys grow as well. So, sometimes I try my best to get someone on here to kind of have more of a conversation that you guys can, tune into. If I'm not able to, then, I realized today that I just have to take my own advice and get going. I was trying to plan something, plan an interview with someone, and it wasn't really working out. It wasn't really their fault, and it wasn't really my fault either. It was more of just like they're like I could have done better. Um, and it wasn't really. I kept waiting, and I didn't want to just miss an episode a week. I have I want to be consistent and committed and provide an episode and go all in, even if that means that I'm not able to fulfill what I'm aiming for. So I was struggling with that. That's why I'm posting this so late. That's why you're seeing this and hearing this so late. I was really trying to get someone on to have an interesting conversation with. So so that was a little bit difficult. And just a lot of things that were happening in the last week that kind of helped me reframe my mindset and kind of help me to grow. So I wanted to talk with you guys about that today because I know a lot of the times with us, like we get set back by a lot of different things. And I started to notice there's something coming up for me, for example, that there's something coming up pretty soon. And I didn't realize that I already had something scheduled for a specific day. I had something else already scheduled. And ahead of time, I was just like, yeah, I'm good. And I ended up realizing that I actually had something to do that day. So then I put myself in this own loop, and I thought I found the solution, and then I realized that and like there was different conflicts that started to arise, so on and so forth. And I remember I was showering, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, there was like a small little thought in the back of my head that popped up that was like, man, sometimes I just wish I could escape it all, just be on my own, just be free of everything, and just get away from all these distractions or whatever the case may be, and not have to struggle. And I had that thought for really like a tiny. I felt that in me. I like, ooh, and I know a lot of you can relate. I don't know how many of you guys can actually agree with me when you feel like sometimes like you go through. No one likes to struggle. No one likes to have a conflict and have to deal with like something difficult. So like I was going through that, and that was going through my mind. I don't know how many of you guys can relate with that. Where like something comes up, or like you're struggling, you think in the back of your head, like, I was like, man, I wish this could just like go away and solve itself, and you can just keep going. And I kept thinking that, and I was thinking to myself, like, I swear I probably look like a crazy person because I was just in my head. Um, I don't know how many of you guys have done this before, where you're just like in the shower, you're just contemplating having this whole conversation with yourself. Maybe not talking out loud, but like in your head. um like for example, like if something happened, I think I've seen like a video, like I think I saw a video like this where it was like a funny video where it was just saying how like when you're working or something and somebody goes off on you, or somebody like yells at you, and you're just calm and you don't say anything, and you're just like, yeah, whatever, shrug it off. And then and then it fast forwards to like you in the shower that same day, and you're just like screaming. You're like, yeah, well, if you wouldn't have done this and that, and then this wouldn't have happened. And it's like you do that later on, like when you're alone and your like thoughts and everything is running, you're like arguing with yourself, like ain't nobody listening to you. I relate with that so much. I don't know how many of you guys relate with that. So that's kind of how I was. I was just going back and forth with my mind, and I was thinking that, and I was just saying how like you know I like when I thought that I wanted to shut it off right away, I was like, no, like I don't want to avoid it. I want to face it. I want to actually see how I can solve this, because this is going to happen eventually. I can't avoid problems forever, and problems aren't just going to cease to exist. I had to like I had to kind of like go into my own head and kind of shut off all of that stuff that was like all those negative thoughts that were going in my head. I was just like, yeah, man, if only you could escape all of it. If only you could like be free of struggle and problem. Like I had to figure this out myself and tell this to myself. And I'm telling you guys this: you will never be free of problems. You will never be free of struggles. Like in this world, there's so many unique, different people with so many unique, different backgrounds, different like everything. So knowing that there's such a world with such unique differences, there's no possible way that you can avoid problems forever. You can avoid obstacles forever. And if you do, then you're really just laying back doing absolutely nothing, which that in itself is a problem. So like you will never escape like situations or obstacles or things that come up in your life. So don't ever think or don't waste your time like how I was wasting my time thinking like, oh, if only you can, be away and this can just go away by itself. Like, no, like I had to tell myself no and ask myself, okay, what can I do to work on this? Like I see I messed up, and I had to work on that. And that's kind of like what I was like. I had to like start taking notes and start to like realize this. Like I had to see like, okay, I messed up. So that's kind of like the first step. And I'm talking more towards, those like when you go through something or like you make a mistake and you like fall and like or, like you fail. And I want to address this because I know many of us, if we're actually on this journey this summer and growing and actually working on our strength and stuff, we can get caught up in the things that we're doing. And a lot of obstacles can rise up and a lot of problems can rise up that we weren't expecting or that simply slipped our mind because of our human being of our own errors, because we're not perfect. So the first thing is acknowledging like you did mess up. That's what I had to do. I had to acknowledge first that like I messed up. So I realized that I messed up, and I apologized to like the specific people that like I wasn't able to really like go according to the plan and stuff like that, and I had to apologize, and I was specific with my apology. Like you have to really show your like, I don't know how to phrase it, kind of like show your emotion towards that apology, like showing that like, yeah, like you really did mess up, and be specific with it. Like you be truth and honest with yourself. Like you didn't show up, or you didn't listen, or you didn't read well enough, and that was your fault for not communicating, for you yourself not putting in the work to actually prepare yourself. Like you have to be straightforward with yourself so that you can see the mistakes that you committed. And and don't dwell on this too much. Like you do this in an effort for you to acknowledge that you did fail, because you're not perfect, so that you can kind of come to your human being mind and see like, yeah, you're not perfect and you are going to mess up. So that's so you can acknowledge that, and so the person that's hearing this can see like, yo, this person really is means what they say. Like they're just not saying that just cuz, and they don't really care. Like they can feel that you really care. So that's like the first step, is admitting that. um and then the next thing that I had to do is like, okay, like I messed up, but this problem is still here. Like just because you apologize, or just because you acknowledge that you messed up, that doesn't mean the problem is going away. Something that I realized a really long time ago is I really don't like empty apologies. Like I think there's so many things in our vocabulary or in our conversations that we overlook. Like the term in itself, when we say like I'm sorry, um like I remember myself, I started to like pick this up myself. Maybe it's not the same for everybody, maybe it's wrong for, maybe somebody might think I'm wrong. This is just based off of me, like what I think. And I would say, I'm sorry, and it was just empty. Like I didn't really care. Like it was just like, yeah, yeah, I'm sorry. And I realized that it was just like it was empty. And I started to realize, if I wanted it to mean something, then I had to truly mean it. And in order to do that, I had to like go within myself and like apologize, and really recognize and see deep down what is the actual problem. Like what was the actual thing that I messed up on? Why did I mess up on it? And really bring that into the light. So like an apology is just like you doing that. It's you just acknowledging what you missed what mistake you made, and acknowledging and bringing that and being specific, not sugarcoating it. Like, you have to be like so disciplined with yourself. This is like framing your mindset to be like those people. If you want to be able to be like those people who are at the top, you got to be able to put yourself in a really uncomfortable zone. Like, those people who are in successful places or in the top places is because they're in a state of like in a uncomfort zone that you're not in right now. So in order for you to grow and get better, you got to continually push yourself and stretch yourself, and that's going to take you being disciplined to yourself, especially in those times where you mess up, that you're just not like, dang, like, yo, I kind of like screwed up. That is like, no, I screwed up because I failed to communicate. I screwed up because I didn't look into this good enough. I messed up because I let my thoughts speak. Whatever the case may be, is you going into detail with yourself and acknowledging that. I had to do this. Is, by the way, this is this is a conversation that I had completely with myself in the shower. So this is a little bit crazy. This whole thing just happened with me in the shower not too long ago. So I was just going through that in my head, and I was like, yeah, I messed up, and I addressed it with everyone involved, and I had to bring it to light because I didn't want it to just stay out there, and be held accountable for that. I want to show like, yes, I messed up. So once I did that, I was just like thinking like, okay, the problem didn't go away, so now what can be done. So as I was addressing a solution, I like the very first thing I did was just think about, okay, what can I do to be fixed? And I'm just thinking in my head, and as I'm like talking to these people, I'm already telling them, obviously apologizing as I said first, and that as I'm apologizing, I'm providing what would be the best solution and kind of like get their feedback as well. So I'm providing a solution, so not just complaining, not just giving a problem, or not just saying, all right, I messed up, boom, I'm out, and like kind of like still being working like together, and like providing that feedback, and also trying to think of what the solution could be to help them out, so they can see that you're not just throwing something on their shoulders and then dipping out. And I always think of that in the sense of like, I wouldn't want that to happen to me. If I'm like doing something and I'm planning something, and something doesn't go according to plan, and someone, messes up, whether they didn't follow through or they just didn't cancel or whatever, or they're just not communicating or whatever, I wouldn't want them to just dip on me, and then I feel like I'm alone and I have to do everything myself. And I felt that before, and it sucks, and I hate feeling that. So that's why I make every effort for myself to help others, like when I mess up, to address that and really work with them to find a solution, so that they know that they're not alone, and I'm actually trying to help them. So I started thinking of solutions, and I started thinking of these different things that could do and that can happen. And in the end, there's still like the problem is still there. Like the problem was still there, and even though there's a solution, it's like something that can happen again. So that's why you kind of have to hold yourself accountable. And once you present the solutions, you have to like kind of sit down with yourself and take note of everything that happened wrong with that specific issue. So I went ahead and like I wrote an example, and I took this example from my job. Kind of weird, and this is something that not a lot of people like doing. Is a specific thing called the bridge. So the way that this specific thing works is every day, we're auditing different things, different programs or whatever. And if something is missed, like let's say we didn't have a 100% success rate, like everything wasn't captured, or we missed something, at the end of the day, if any team is missing anything like that, they have to provide a bridge. So the way that works is they have to, there's a structure to it. So you have to put what the mistake was, like what the miss was, right? And then after you put that miss, you right under that, it's kind of like a whole text that you prepare. So once you put like the actual thing that you missed, like the mistake, then you put the root cause of it. So you put like you put what is the actual bottom line, like why it happened, what is the purpose, like why. You have to get to the very deepest details, like dive deep into the detail of why. And then once you identify why, then the next step is to provide an action plan to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Like, what is your action plan so that this doesn't happen again, and that you can improve, so that you can continue to improve in this part so that you don't come up on that specific auditing or like that defect list again. And then once you provide those details on your action plan, then you put your name attached to that. So you attach your name to what you're expecting to work on and when you're expecting to complete it, so the date and everything, and that goes up to all the leaders. Everyone sees that in the region, everyone. So that's a huge thing to be tied to. So you obviously don't want to mess up again, because then if you do, then it's like your word means nothing, and it's like you're not following through. So a lot of people don't like doing that just because it's a lot of work. And I just started thinking about that, and it came to my mind when this specific situation was happening. It came to my mind, and like this, everything that was happening with me, um, I saw like there was this problem, and I was just asking myself in my head. I was just like, I don't want this to happen again. And I was asking myself, like, kind of going through the thought process as if I was preparing this thing, as if I was at work from home. So it's so weird. So then I was like, you know what? No, like I want to improve in this. And I was kind of thinking back to that first thought that I mentioned earlier of like, oh, I want to escape this. I don't want to have to deal with this. So in order for me to kind of like reverse that thought, I had to actually go into my notes and write out like this big text on like everything that happened. And I did exactly that kind of that bridge. So I put what was the mistake, like what I actually missed, what was my failure, what did I like miss on. And then once I put that, um I added like all the details, like the why, like diving deep into why it happened and what was really like why I ended up doing that. Whether it was like I had a lack of communication, I didn't follow through, I was lazy, whatever. I was straight to the point, specific, like 2-3 sentences, very specific. And then once I did that, then I wrote in my notes. This isn't going to anybody. Like, no one is seeing this. This is just me doing this for myself so that I can grow. Like, this is for me to get better because I want to get better. So right after I put the why everything happened, then I added the details on like an action plan on what I'm going to work on to make sure that it doesn't happen again and I can improve in this specific thing, so that this isn't a mistake or a repetitive mistake that comes up. It's something that happened, that I acknowledge I messed up on, and then I have an action plan to work on it. So I wrote that, and immediately that I wrote that action plan, I made sure of that I didn't let a second go by, that I didn't apply that or didn't work on that. So I went into my phone immediately, went on my calendar, and did exactly what I was going to do, and I took action right then and there. um and I did it right in that moment. And right there is when I added to that specific notes. I added, I completed this and I took action on this. And after I finished that, I was like, like this is like, it's something that we have to like all do to kind of hold ourselves accountable. Hashtag back to the previous episode. Um and it's kind of understanding, like, you have to put in that effort to put yourself in a different category. Like, you have to really start to think, like, how can I be different? How can I think different? Like, what would a normal person or someone that I know think or address the situation, and what can I do to be different and address it, in like thinking outside the box. I don't know why, like, I was laying down today, I took like a quick power nap, and something that came to my mind, I was just like, how can I be outside the box? How can I think outside the box? I'm telling you guys, I think of the most random and the most weird things that come out of nowhere. So this is just me ranting to you on my weird thoughts that go through my head. So I would just think of that. I'm just like, what can I do to be outside the box, to think outside the box, to really, put myself in a different place. And I think that's what I want you guys to learn from. Is to learn how to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation. Like, not something that's not in an uncomfortable situation that's not going to be any good for you. I mean, in an uncomfortable situation that will help you grow, that will help you be better. If you're going through something right now, if you're struggling, or if there's an issue that happened lately, or something that you're already going through right now, then I want you to follow this specific structure as well. Follow this specific format to kind of help you grow. Like, this is for you. Ain't nobody gonna see this. If you want to send it to me, if you want to DM it to me, or share it with me, that's awesome. You don't have to. I want you to do this just for your personal growth and start to build a habit of you being different, of you putting yourself somewhere different, so that you can kind of like start to get used to putting yourself in a category of those higher people. Like, because like I mentioned earlier, when you see someone that's successful, the reason you're not there is because they're in a level, they put themselves in a comfort zone that was outside of them, and you're gonna have to do the same in order for you to get to that level. In order for you to like grow, you gotta move up, you gotta like sacrifice, you gotta stretch yourself, you gotta put yourself in an uncomfort zone where you have to grow, where you have to stretch yourself, where you have to get better, and where you have to improve. In order to do that, you gotta start tracking yourself with the very, very little things, very little mistakes that might come up that could shape and build your character. So start with that format. Start with the first thing. Like I said, if it's something, think of something maybe that you messed up on not too long ago, recently, or maybe this week, this past month, or this year. Just think of a situation where you messed up, and start with acknowledging that you messed up. Like, yes, you messed up, all right, and start off with that. So step one is to put exactly what your mistake was, like what was the problem. And don't be too specific with this. This is just kind of like an overview for yourself. So just in one sentence, put exactly what that mistake was, what your miss was, what it was that you messed up on. One sentence, straight to the point. Next step is to write down why it happened. And you got to go to the deepest, like you got to dive deep into this specific section. And the way that you know that you went all the way to the deepest is that you can't ask why anymore. So it's like, for example, if I say like, oh, I ran over his foot because his foot was in the way. Well, why was his foot in the way? Well, because he was standing in front of my car. Why was he standing in front of my car? Because he was waiting for me. Why was he? You get what I'm going. So you wanna in the next step to put the exact cause. Like, you wanna like keep asking why. Like, as you're writing like why it happened. If you're able to ask why that happened, like keep going, keep writing why, keep going until you're able to get to the deepest detail, the core of the issue, like the very core of it. And that's how you know exactly what it was and you can address that. Once you do that, the next step is to think of your plan, to like your action plan for you to improve on that, like what you're willing to do to get better in that specific area, and what you're willing to do to move forward and to get better. So write down one step, two things, and it's actionable, like something that you can do right now, like something that you can do as soon as you finish listening to this or watching this, right after this, that you can start taking action on. Write that down and do it, right? And then once you write that actionable step, then go ahead and put when you're expecting to complete that by, whether it's tonight. Be strict with yourself and discipline. If you know that if you leave it for too long, you're gonna procrastinate it, do it tonight. Give yourself the deadline to do it tonight, so that way you can get it done and you get it out of the way, and you know that nothing else is gonna come up, and you can get that done. All right, and save that. Do that in your phone. Do that. Write that down. Whatever. Just save that. And trust me, guys, like this, like I did that, and it really like kind of put everything that was in my head on paper and helped me like see, okay, I'm getting better. If this has helped you guys out, go ahead and follow me on all social media. You can find me on Instagram at Go M.A.D Official, or my own personal page at Chris Go M.A.D. You can follow me on Twitter, Chrisito is mad, and my Facebook page, also Go M.A.D. And then go ahead and share this, guys. You can find everything that I have on my podcast, all my equipment that I have set up here. I left the link to everything in my YouTube description, so follow that. I really appreciate it. It really helped me out a lot if you guys just go through those links. If you want to get yourself set up, or if you're interested in any of my equipment, you can look through there, and it will help me out and support the channel and the podcast as well. So look into that. Or you could also just go on anchor.fm and support the podcast there by clicking support. And I really appreciate it, guys. So continue to invest in yourself. And as we continue to grow and get better with ourselves, we can all go mad. I'll catch you guys in the next one.